denied.
But I loved him. I would not kill him intentionally.
No new trial.
It was supposed to be unloaded. I took the magazine out.
Stunning new details just in on a story we've been following closely. The police cadet convicted of gunning down her boyfriend.
The first thing that you're taught in the police academy is that the gun's always loaded. I don't think that she cared if there was a bullet in the chamber.
This past spring, 24-year-old Claudia Esquivel filed a motion for a new trial in the murder of her boyfriend, 27-year-old Chris Chapa. Court documents show Claudia's alleged ineffective assistance of counsel.
It just wasn't adding up.
And the court upheld the original murder conviction.
There are consequences for your actions. And so you really need to stop and think about what you're doing before you do it.
But first, how did a wannabe cop go to convicted criminal in the first place? It's Father's Day weekend, full of family gatherings, special memories, and...
Galveston 911.
My daughter's boyfriend is beating her up.
Okay, are you there as well?
No, I'm on my way there. She's calling me, telling me that she needs help. She doesn't know what to do. He's pushing her around.
Okay, do you know if he has any weapons or anything?
I don't know.
But just hours before this panic 911 call, it was a different kind of frenzy at a popular restaurant in Galveston, Texas, where 27-year-old Chris Chapa and his girlfriend, 22-year-old Claudia Esquivel, are pulling double shifts.
He had gone into work. It was a busy time, lots of brunches, lots of reservations at the restaurant.
But Chris isn't just busy on this Father's Day. He's heartbroken. 4 years earlier, he lost a baby with his then high school sweetheart.
Christopher never really recovered from losing his daughter. It was something that kind of stuck with him, and so he went into work with a very heavy heart, did his job the best that he could, but everyone could tell that he just wasn't himself, and so the managers let him go home early.
Chris leaves while his girlfriend, Claudia, remains behind at work.
My understanding is Claudia had to stay till closing. She wasn't particularly happy about that.
And perhaps exhausted after recently completing the grueling training program at the local police academy in Galveston. Claudia is not a cop yet, but well on her way once she passes the state exams.
It was something actually that Christopher was quite proud of, that Claudia decided she wanted to be a peace officer.
Around 11 p.m., Claudia wraps up her shift at the restaurant and heads home to the apartment she shares with Chris. And tonight, she's got a special surprise for him.
She wanted to start cooking a crab boil at like 11 o'clock at night, whereas he just wanted to kind of get ready for bed and start the next day. Somewhere in that, they started to get into an argument.
An argument that Chris's sister says began earlier that day when Chris sent a text to his former high school flame.
Father's Day and Mother's Day were always hard times for Christopher and his high school sweetheart. And so they didn't really keep in touch a lot after they broke up, but those 2 days of the year, they would kind of like connect with each other, through text message, just to kind of check on one another because they would always have that bond.
A bond Chris's sister claims Claudia didn't like.
She was very controlling. She wanted to monopolize Christopher's time.
But tonight, Chris has plans of his own.
While she was at work, Christopher and our youngest brother had gotten together. They'd gone to dinner.
Ruining Claudia's crab boil surprise. And while the meal is left to simmer down on the stove, Claudia's anger is just beginning to boil over.
At some point, Christopher was like, I'm done. I'm going to take my stuff. I'm going to my mom's house. And he started collecting his belongings and was like, this is the final straw.
Final everything.
At some point, she got the gun and she held it to his head and pulled the trigger.
Chris collapses to the floor.
It was one shot to the back of his head, and that was it. And instead of calling 911 to get help, she called her mother.
Several crucial minutes will pass before Claudia's mother calls 911, and she will not mention the shooting or request an ambulance.
Is this your friend?
It's my daughter.
Oh, your daughter?
Yes.
And you said her boyfriend's hitting her?
Yes.
Okay, and he's still there?
Yes.
Do you know if your daughter needs any kind of EMS treatment?
I don't know.
Detective Sollenberger is one of the first to arrive on the scene and realizes this domestic disturbance call is something else. Homicide.
Chris was killed with a single gunshot wound to the head. The entrance wound was behind his right ear towards the back of the head.
Chris lays bleeding to death with a mortal gunshot wound, and his girlfriend Claudia she's nowhere to be found.
Officers contacted dispatch, and dispatch did a little backtracking and contacted her mother. Her mother then said, this is where Claudia is. At that point, she was in custody.
Claudia is escorted to the county jail by major crimes detective Hector Dominguez Jr.
She confirmed that she did want to talk about the case, so I took her back to the interview room,
where a video camera records her every word.
You understand that you are under arrest, right? Okay, gotcha. Well, I guess we can start with what happened.
It's basically another fight, like, that consisted throughout the whole day, you know, but I went through the trouble of making, like, a crab steam pot and everything, right? Well, you know, he gets there and he, like, gives me his kiss, he's like, hey, you know, kind of act like nothing happened. And it just, like, starts escalating, I was like, whatever, Chris. So then he goes and gets in the shower, and I go in the shower, I'm like, really? You're just gonna, like, bounce? You're not even gonna eat dinner with me, I'm sitting here waiting for you. He's like, oh, you and your crowd, I don't care, da-da-da. Acted on ugly, and I was like, fine, whatever. I was like, I'm just gonna put it away.
Claudia puts the food away and takes out something else, a gun.
I grabbed it to scare him. I'm like, Chris, I just want you to leave.
Leave or die?
I did, like, point it, and I was like, get out, you know, and I'm, like, going like this for him to get out of the door, to get out of there and quit doing all, like, causing all that ruckus. And he's like, oh, you're gonna shoot me? He knows I'm not gonna shoot him. No, I wasn't gonna shoot you.
But that's exactly what she did.
And it caught him right here on the side of the head. And I didn't even, you know, when something happens so fast that you don't notice it.
Yeah.
I thought the bullet just flew out. I didn't even know it hit him until I saw him hit the floor. Because it took a minute before he just fell on the floor.
Claudia claims it's a case of domestic violence that ended in an accidental shooting. She demonstrates the alleged assault to Detective Dominguez.
When he starts getting all rough and, like, pushing me real hard and sending me into the walls, that's like where I hit, like, the sides of the doorways and the wall and the door. And in the middle of that, you know, arms go up, and that's when the shot came out because my finger hit the trigger.
But Claudia maintains she only meant to intimidate Chris, not kill him.
Did you unload it?
I did. I took out the magazine. I unloaded it. An unloaded gun cannot hurt someone. It was supposed to be unloaded. I took the magazine out. An unloaded gun can't hurt someone.
But sadly, it wasn't unloaded.
But I loved him. I would not kill him intentionally, or if I thought that I could have killed him, like, honestly, to think that there wasn't a bullet in the chamber.
While Claudia tells her side of the story at Galveston Police Headquarters, investigators are collecting evidence at the crime scene, which tells a very different tale.
The evidence just didn't fit the pieces with her saying that he was refusing to leave.
Up next, Claudia claims it was an accidental shooting. Investigators point to evidence of cold-blooded murder.
Sorry, let me interrupt you again. That way we're on the same page. Don't me.
This did not look like an injury that could occur from a struggle.
The evidence just didn't fit the pieces with her saying that he was refusing to leave. She was trying to scare him into leaving. The evidence shows that he was fully dressed. His stuff was packed by the door, and it looked like he was leaving, just maybe not fast enough for her taste.